We're going to think about the anchor points in supine position. So lengthening through the back of the neck, allowing the head to rest into the mat. Shoulder blades are wide across the back of the rib cage. Lower base of the rib cage is rooted down to the floor. The sacrum, or triangular shaped bone at the base of the spine, is resting relatively flat. Knees are about sits bone distance apart, and feet are in line with the knees, specifically second toe in line with the knees, toes spread wide. And from this position, just draw your attention to your inhale. As you inhale, expanding the rib cage wide and back into the mat. And on your exhale, find your co-contraction, which is the coordinated contraction of the pelvic floor lifting, lower abs drawing the spine, and the spinal extensor muscles engaging. So you're creating a cylinder of support around the midsection. Again, inhaling to expand the rib cage, lengthening the spine, and on the exhale, finding that co-contraction, drawing those muscles together, kind of like you're creating a corset of support around your midsection. We're going to go into pelvic tilts. So imagine that you have a clock face right on your pelvic bowl. We're going to go from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, or north to south if you're imagining a compass. On your next exhale, co-contract, engaging those muscles, curl pubic bone towards belly button, imprinting the lumbar spine or lower spine into the mat. And you'll inhale, relaxing back to neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Exhale, curling north. Inhale, coming back to center. The next time that you exhale, you'll come north. And as you inhale, you'll come through center, drawing your pubic bone towards the back of the heels, lengthening through the front body. We'll continue here for a few more pelvic tilts. And my hands are just doing the same tilting action that my pelvis is doing, so you could see it a little bit better. So you can just have your arms resting by your sides. And the next time that we tilt north, we'll go as far north as we can and then come back resting in neutral. We'll take our pelvis now to rotate from side to side, almost like a teeter-totter. You can think of this as east to west, or 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock on the face of a clock. Allow the right side of the back of the pelvis to weigh down heavily into the mat. And as you do so, the whole pelvis starts to rotate very slightly over to the right. And then we'll switch to the other side. And as the pelvis rotates from side to side, upper body is quiet, knees are quiet, feet are relaxed. We'll continue here. We often refer to this just as east-west. And one more time to each side, along the left side of the pelvis to weigh heavily down into the mat. And then back to the right side. One more time to the left. And then back to center. And then from here, we're going to think about completing a circle. So either going all the way around the clock or thinking about connecting those points of north, south, east, and west. On your next exhale, co-contract, curl pubic bone north or all the way up till 12 o'clock. And then circle around, making sure that you're making the circle smooth and controlled. Upper body's relaxed. As you come back around at 12 o'clock, come back to center again. So you're back at neutral spine, neutral pelvis. We're going to do the same thing going the opposite direction. On your next inhale, lengthen through the spine. On your exhale, co-contract, curling north. And then we're going to circle in the opposite direction. And you can imagine that you're circling around the sacrum, or you might imagine something even smaller. Come all the way back to 12 o'clock and then come back to neutral. We're going to do 2 more circles in each direction. On your next exhale, co-contract, curling north. And we're circling the opposite way again. Circling around the sacrum. You might even imagine something as small as a dime underneath the sacrum, and you're circling around that. And come back to center. Inhaling, lengthen to the spine. On your exhale, co-contracting, tilting north, and circling the opposite direction. And coming back to center. Inhaling deeply to the base of the lungs. Exhale, co-contract, curl north, or that 12 o'clock. If you're imagining the face of a clock, try to hit every number around the clock as you circle. Notice any areas that might be a little bit sticky. Coming back to center one last time. Notice any numbers on the face of the clock that you seem to want to bypass. Send a little bit of extra energy and breath there, really seeing if you can work through that entire circle. And then come back to center, neutral spine, neutral pelvis. We're going to place our hands on top of the pelvis so that the heel of the hand is on those bony landmarks at the front of the pelvis, and the fingertips are right on top of the pubic bone, just resting there. So we're going to go into sits bone reaches. And as you have your hands placed here, I want you to make sure that your hands stay flat the whole time so that you're not tipping the pelvis, rotating it from side to side. Also be mindful as you get ready to do what we call sits bone reaches that you're not arching your lower back too much. So you want to make sure that you're keeping long spine. The natural arch of the lower back is fine. You just don't want to hyperextend it. So from here, starting on the left side, you're going to draw the left sits bone down to the back of the left heel, lengthening through the left side body. And then switch to the other side. Right side lengthens. Sits bones are just the part of the pelvis that we sit upon. That's what you're drawing towards the back of the same side heel. And we're going to go from side to side. And I'm hoping that your hands on top of your pelvis are starting to do this kind of motion, kind of like a DJ spinning a record. Continuing here, lengthening from one side to the other, trying to keep the knees as quiet as possible. You're really focusing on the lengthening from the lower base of the rib cage to the top of the pelvis. So it's this stretch here in the side body that you're going for. We're stretching the QL or the quadratus lumborum, which often gets tight, especially if you have been seated or if you do tend to do things where you're hiking your hip up, like carrying babies on one side or the other of your hips, for example, or groceries. And then one more time to each side, and we're going to come back to center after that. And then back at center, we're going to raise one leg in the tabletop. Knee is bent at a 90-degree angle, stacked over the hips, and then other leg comes into tabletop. If this bothers your lower back, you're going to keep one foot on the floor. From this position, we'll go into toe taps. On your next exhale, toe contract, keeping the lower spine and pelvis stable as you tap one toe to the ground and come back up again. We're going to stay on the same side, 4 more here. And 3, 2. Last one. We'll switch to the other side. 5. I like to exhale as I go down, inhale as I come up, because I have a tendency for the pelvis to want to follow the leg. So notice in the areas that are most challenging for you and use your exhale to really support the core muscles engaging to keep you in alignment. One more time on this side. And then keeping the legs in tabletop to start, making sure you've got a long spine, neutral pelvis. The right leg is going to open. So we're abducting and then adducting the leg. We keep the knee and the ankle in line with each other. So this is not external rotation. The goal here is to keep the pelvis and the lower spine stable. So think about having headlights on the front of the pelvis. Your pelvic headlights are shining straight up towards the ceiling. Don't let them veer off course. 2 more times on this side. And last one. And then we'll switch to the other side. Left leg draws away from midline and comes back. And as you continue here for 4 more, notice what's happening on the other leg. You want to make sure that the knee is still in line with the top of the leg and with the ankle versus starting to create a counterbalance by veering the opposite direction. We've got 1 more on the left leg. Pelvic headlights continue to shine up towards the ceiling. And then we'll bring one leg to the floor and then the other. And from here, we're going to do arch and curl. So it's coming up into a head float, similar to like a sit-up, with your arms by your sides. If you have neck issues and you need to support your head in order to support your neck, you might choose not to have your arms in front of you and keep your head supported with your hands at the base of the skull. So choose what works best for your body right now. And just as a reminder to everyone, you always want to make sure that you're taking care of your body when you're doing group fitness classes. So if I or any other instructor leads you to do something that doesn't feel appropriate for your body, please modify or just move it to something that you know is safe for you. All right. On your next exhale, co-contract, tilt chin to chest as you reach long through the fingertips, curling up. And then you'll come back down again, one vertebra at a time until the head rests back on the floor. And exhale to curl up. Inhale, lengthening the spine as you come back down to the mat. And exhale to curl up. And inhale, coming back down. Remember, as I exhale, I'm co-contracting. I'm curling chin to chest to stay long through the back of the neck as I reach through the fingertips and then rolling back down again. So each time you exhale, think about co-contracting before you actually move. It's like putting the key in the ignition before the engine can actually start. 3 more here. And 2. And last one. You're going to hold here, and then you can stay where your legs are or come in a tabletop. If you would like, you can also come in a straight legs. Be mindful of your back and your pelvic positioning. We're going to go into hundreds. This is traditional hundreds position. You might take a bent knee, especially if this bothers your back. Curl up a little bit higher, and from here, we're going to pump the arms, inhaling through the nose for 5, exhaling through the mouth for 5. Here we go. Inhale, 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 exhale, 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 exhale. Inhale, 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 exhale, 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 exhale. See if you can curl up a little bit higher and hold here. And sniff, 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 sniff. Exhale, 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 exhale. We're halfway there. Last time. And see if you can curl up a little bit higher. Grab the front of the shins as you roll down, one vertebra at a time until the head rests on the mat, knees are pulled into the chest. Lengthen through the spine. Rock from side to side. Nice job doing hundreds. Hopefully it's warmed you up a little bit. That was kind of the thought behind hundreds, is that as a warm-up. I always feel like it's a little abrupt to go right into them. All right, from here, you're going to keep your right knee pulled into your chest. Left leg extends long. Make sure that as you extend that leg, you're still keeping your pelvis in a neutral position. You can either keep your head on the floor or curl the head up. If you're curling the head up, you're thinking about drawing the forehead as high up as you can, using the lower abs, of course. And then switch, drawing the opposite knee into the chest, and the leg goes long. And switch to the other side. For hand placement, inside hand is going to go on the inside of the knee, outside hand is going to go on the outside of the ankle. And switch, and switch. Find your breath here. I like to inhale in the transition. You find what works best for your body. The breath is meant to support your movement. Remember, you're using lower abs here. Pelvic floor is lifted to keep the pelvis from moving as you move the legs. So the legs just hinge in the hip joint. 3 more. And 2. And 1. Hug knees into the chest, roll back down, one vertebra at a time. Rock from side to side. And then take your feet down to your mat, as wide as your mat. Arms are going to go out into a T, and windshield wiper the knees from side to side. And then you're going to draw the legs together so that inner borders of the thighs all the way down to the feet are touching. And then again, windshield wiper knees from side to side, but keep the legs together the whole time. So you're getting a little bit more stretch through the outside of the hips. You're welcome to stay here, or you can cross your arms over your chest, which requires your obliques to work a little bit more here. Shoulders stay rooted to the mat. You're welcome to continue here, Or bring your legs in a tabletop and then squeeze the legs together again. And you're going to rock from side to side, or that same east to west motion we were doing earlier, keeping both shoulders on the mat the whole time. So the motion will probably get a lot smaller so that you can keep your shoulders rooted to the floor. Keep the lower base of the rib cage drawing down towards your mat. Make sure that you're not hyperextending the lower back. You want to keep length in the lower spine by using your abs to draw the spine long. And we'll do one more time to each side. And then draw the knees into the chest, lengthening through the spine. We're going to come into tabletop position, hands clasped at the base of the skull. On your next exhale, co-contract, curling up into a head float. Keep shoulder blades wide. Keep your head heavy in your hands. And from here, as you stay in your head float, draw right leg into chest, left leg goes long. And then switch, just like we were doing before, except now in a head float. Good. Keep shoulder blades wide. Elbows are out at a 45-degree angle. Legs are just hinging in the hip joint here. We're going to add rotation. The next time you bring the right leg in, rotate to the right. And then left knee comes in, rotate to the left. Alternating from side to side. See if you can lengthen through the spine each time you rotate. So you're getting a little bit more lengthening as you twist. And 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one. Stay curled up. Clasp your hands around the front of the shins. Draw the knees into the chest as you come back down. And then rock from side to side. Not bad for a Friday morning. All right. Legs are going to go back into that tabletop position again. And there are lots of variations of this exercise. So I'm going to start us kind of in smaller pieces of it, and then you can decide what works best for you. So actually, before we do that, let's bring our feet to the floor and do rib cage arms to kind of warm this up a little bit. So all you're going to think about doing is drawing your fingertips up towards the ceiling, palms facing in. Keep your lower base of your rib cage rooted to the mat as you draw the arms overhead. And then bring them back up towards the ceiling. And draw arms overhead. And then reach fingertips back up towards the ceiling. Inhale as you draw the arms overhead. Exhale as you draw fingertips up towards the ceiling. One more time, staying rooted through the back of the rib cage as you bring arms overhead. And then draw fingertips back up towards the ceiling. From here, we'll bring our legs in a tabletop position. We're going to go into dying bug. Right arm, left leg, reach out long. Pelvis and spine stay stable. And draw back to center. Switch to the other side. Shoulder blades slide down the back of the rib cage as you reach the arm overhead. And then draw fingertips back up towards the ceiling. We're alternating from side to side, extending opposite arm and leg, even though we often tend to focus on the parts of the body that are moving. We really want to draw our awareness to the work it takes to stabilize the parts that we don't want to move. So check in with the lower base of the rib cage. Make sure it's staying grounded to the mat. Make sure spine is staying in neutral. Make sure pelvis is staying in neutral. So the pelvis shouldn't move as the legs move. Lower abs, pelvic floor, spinal extensor muscles are helping keep the torso and the pelvis stable. Last time on this side. And then we're going to draw knees into the chest for a moment. And now we're going to go back to what I was originally thinking of. So we're going to come into our tabletop position. And if it bothers you again to draw arms forward like this, then you might decide to keep your head supported by your hands. Otherwise, on your next exhale, you're going to curl up, tucking chin to chest, reaching the arms long. And then from here, turn palms in towards your side body. Reach arms overhead as you send the legs long. If this bothers your lower back, you're going to keep your knees bent. So as you reach long, arms and legs extended, then sweep the arms around, draw the knees in towards the chest, curl up a little bit higher. See if you can reach the outside of your heels. Try to draw your forehead towards your knees, and then reach long again. And sweep arms around, draw knees in the chest, forehead towards your knees. See if you can come up a little bit higher, reach a little bit more. 3 more here. Inhaling and then exhaling as you curl up. Inhaling to extend, exhaling as you curl up. 1 more. Inhaling to extend, exhaling, sweeping arms around, curling up, staying up for 5, 4, 3. Is anyone else shaking? 2, 1. And draw knees into chest, rolling back down. Rock them side to side. All right, feet come to the floor. Sit bone distance apart. Make sure toes are spread wide. We're going to go into neutral bridges. So you really want to make sure that you've got a nice long spine and a good foundation in the feet, because that's what's going to be supporting you. On your next exhale, co-contract. Squeeze the glutes. So you're really engaging the butt muscles as you send the pelvis up towards the ceiling. Stay soft in the chest. Shoulder blades are wide across the back of the rib cage. See if you can squeeze the glutes even more to get the pelvis up a little bit higher. Make sure you're using the adductors, inner thighs, to keep the knees in line with the second toe. So if you take a little glance down the front of your body and you see that your knees don't look like they're in line with the top of the legs, fix it. Good. And then from here, you're going to sit back down like you're sitting into a chair. And I'm going to just tuck it in my shirt so you can see this alignment a little bit better, I hope. On your next exhale, press it on the soles of the feet. Squeeze the glutes as you send the pelvis up towards the ceiling, lengthening through the spine, curling through the front of the pelvis. You're thinking about a little bit of a northern tilt here, lengthening through the tops of the thighs. Imagine you're sending the knees out over the second toe to get more length to the top of the legs and more engagement through the back of the top of the thighs, otherwise known as the hamstrings. And then sit back down as though you're sitting into a chair. We're going to do some single leg bridges. If that feels like way too much, then just stick with the double leg bridges. On your next exhale, co-contract. Press pelvis up towards the ceiling, lengthening through the spine. Stay open through the front of the hips. Pelvic headlights shine up towards the ceiling. And then raise your right leg into extension at knee height. From here, we're going to tap the pelvis down to the floor and press back up again. 4 more for 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Right foot comes to the floor. Make sure your pelvic headlights are square to the ceiling. See if you can squeeze into the glutes a little bit more. Maybe curl the pelvis a little further north. And then a left leg comes into extension at knee height. Remember, right knee stays in line with the second toe as you tap the pelvis to the floor and press back up again. 4 more for 4, 3, 2, and last one. And bring left foot to the floor. Continue to squeeze the glutes, reach up a little bit higher, and then traction the spine as you sit down like you're sitting into a chair. Draw knees in towards your chest. We want to stretch the hamstrings a little bit here. So feel free to either windshield wiper knees from side to side, draw knees in towards the chest. You might even take your heels straight up towards the ceiling, open and close the legs a few times like lateral scissors. If you happen to have a band available, you might take a band around the bottom of one foot, do a couple of hamstring stretches, whatever feels like it's helpful in your body right now. You might do a little bicycling. Just let the hamstrings move a little bit since they've been supporting you in your bridge. And then bring your feet to the floor. We're going to come onto our sides. So side lying position. Imagine that you have an imaginary wall behind you. Long through the arm, long through the legs. And I think I'm set up so that you can see my whole body here. That's my intention for you. Top arm is resting somewhere where the shoulder can relax. Long through the side body, both on the top and on the bottom. So you should have a little window under your waistline here. You want to keep your hips stacked. So if I sink, you might notice that my hips are no longer stacked. Keep your alignment in this position by keeping your side body long. Draw lower belly towards spine. to keep the lumbar spine from hyperextending. And then you're going to draw your top leg to about hip height. And from here, allow the foot to relax. Little tiny circles for the top of the leg and the hip joint. So the goal here is that the leg moves, the pelvis doesn't. Giving a nice little massage to the hip joint, releasing synovial fluid to lubricate the hip joint. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and circle the other direction. Good. Keep your circles relatively small. Make sure that your leg stays in line with the pelvis, or with the hip. So you don't want to bring your leg up high. You want to keep it pretty low. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then allow it to come down, tapping down just to rest for the moment. On your next exhale, you're going to reach the leg back up to hip height again. This time, keep the foot flexed. You're going to kick the foot forward for 2, and then send the leg back behind you for 1. So flex the foot, kick, and point. Being really mindful that this range of motion will probably be small in order not to move the pelvis or the spine. So especially as you bring the leg back behind you, it's really easy to start getting into the lower back. So you might only bring your leg a couple inches behind the bottom leg. And traditional Pilates breathing for this exercise is 2 sniffs as you kick forward. Exhale as you draw the leg back. We've got 1 more here. And come back to center and rest. Give your hip a little bit of love. It's been very good to you. And then reach through both legs, continuing to send the heels as far away from you as possible. You're going to draw both legs just about 3 or 4 inches off the floor. And then from here, raise both legs up and come back to your start position. And raise both legs up. Keep them squeezed together as you raise them. So inner border of the thighs all the way down to the inner borders of the feet should be touching. And if you don't like having your hand out in front of you, you can always place it on your hip if that feels better. You just want your shoulder to be able to relax. Make sure you're resisting gravity as the legs want to come back down to the floor. So keep that starting position about 3 inches above the floor. Keep the legs squeezed together. It's a pretty small movement, but you should feel the lower leg doing most of the work, specifically inner thigh. You might also feel a little bit of work on the top outside of the hip. And 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And then we're gonna draw the knees forward, lengthening through the spine, spiral the top of the leg into external rotation so that you're squeezing the back of the heels into each other. We're gonna go into clamshells from here. You're balancing on the last 3 toes of your bottom foot. Stay long through the side body as you open the knee up towards the ceiling and then draw it back to your start position. Opening and drawing back to your start like a clamshell. And do a little body scan, checking in with the body to make sure that you're not holding tension in any areas where you don't need it. Make sure lower abs are drawing in towards the lower spine. See if you can get a little more squeeze at the heels, a little bit more opening through the hip. And we've got 8 more here. 7, 6, we're working the hip rotators. 5, specifically glute medius. 4, and I'm hoping that you know exactly where it is at this point in the exercise. 2, and last one, and then reach the legs long. We're going to come on to the other side. Now, as we do so, we're going to come onto knees, getting a little side bend. So your opposite legs are reaching long. If you need a block or a stack of books or something to bring your hand to the floor, feel free to do so. Pillow cushion, anything like that. Otherwise, your hand rests on the floor. Reach top arm up and over. Allow the bottom shoulder to draw down the back of the rib cage to draw the rib cage up towards the ceiling even more. Continue to reach through the fingertips of the top arm, reach through the leg. That's an extension. One more breath here. And come back onto your knees. We're going to switch to the other side as I'm losing my little AirPods here. All right, so get set up. We're reaching the leg long and then drawing arm over. As I'm drawing my top arm over, I'm sliding my lower shoulder down the back of the rib cage to flare the opposite side of the rib cage up towards the sky. Good, continuing to reach here, getting as much of a side bend as I can. One more breath here. And then gently coming out of that, and we're going to come on to our other side. So find that imaginary wall again. Make sure lower abs are drawn in, hips are stacked, long through the side body. And then you're going to take your top leg up to hip height, reaching through both heels to start, and then allow the top foot to relax. Dead weight, floppy foot, and then little tiny circles from the top of the leg and the hip joint. Good, continuing here. Continue to reach through the leg to keep the side body long. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch the direction of your circles. Remember to keep the leg at hip height. Keep your circles smooth and slow. A lot of the work that we do is actually much more challenging if you do it slowly and with control. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then bring the leg down just to rest for a moment. Give your hip a little bit of love. And then reach through the side body as you reach through the top heel. Bring your leg back to hip height. We're going to keep the foot flexed and kick forward for 2 kicks, and then point the toe to drop back behind us for 1. Sniffing through the nose for the first 2 kicks, exhaling through the mouth for the last point. And keep checking in with your alignment. Three more here. And then bring your leg back down and rest for a moment. Squeeze the legs together, reach through the heels. You're going to draw the bottom leg up into the top leg so that you're lifting both legs, and come back down just about 3 to 4 inches above the floor. And you might play with kind of finding that sweet spot of where you can really feel the lower leg, inner thigh working to raise both legs up towards the ceiling. When you feel like that lower leg doesn't have to do so much work, you've gone past the point that you want to. So keep your legs lifted a little bit higher from the floor. Stay long through the side body. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're not done. 2, 3, 4. Last one. 5. And rest. Love. Bend the knees, draw them forward so that you can maintain long through the back of the spine. Externally rotate from the top of the leg, squeezing the backs of the heels together. So I want to be really clear. It's not the inner borders of the heels. You're trying to get a really deep external rotation, a wide V with your heels, or wide V with your feet. And then starting from this position, maintain length through the upper side body and lower side body. Lower belly draws to spine. And then you move your knee up towards the ceiling and back down again. Doing your little clamshells. Good, playing with the breath. I definitely think that the exhale as you draw the knee towards the ceiling provides more support for that movement. That's definitely the more challenging part of the exercise. But don't let the knee just drop down because that's the easier part of the exercise. Make yourself resist gravity. So as you come up, you're working really hard to get that external rotation. And as you come down, you're slowly coming down with control and opening and gently coming back. 8 more for 8. Keep heels squeezed together. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one. And then reach the legs long. We're going to come onto our bellies in prone position. In this position, your pubic bone is your most important anchor point. So think about really rooting down through the pubic bone. You're going to have your elbows out, one hand stacked on top of the other, forehead resting on your hands. Lengthen through the legs as much as you can here. And on your next exhale, you're going to reach the right leg so long it starts to float up off of the floor. You're working from the gluteal fold, right from the top of the back of the thigh and right at the lower butt. So from that place, think about, you can even put your finger here. I'm really into tactile cueing. So you can place your finger here and think about moving from here, keeping the leg really, really long as you do so. And once you find that muscle engagement, then you can move your hand out of the way. Good. From here, continue to reach through the entire back of the leg. Keep the pubic bone rooted so that you're not moving the pelvis as the leg moves. And we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reach the leg long as you place it back on the floor. We're going to the other leg. On your next exhale, root through the pubic bone, lift the belly as you raise the left leg a couple inches off the floor. This will be your starting position. You might even do that tactile cue where you're feeling where you want to work from, right in that little crease under the butt, and then lift as you lengthen. Keep lengthening the leg in order to keep engagement through the glutes, butt muscles, and the muscles of the back of the upper leg, specifically hamstrings. Continuing to reach as you lift. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reach the leg long as you put it back down on the ground. Good. From here on your next exhale, co-contract. Reach both legs long. Allow them both to float up off the floor. We're going to do little flutter kicks from here. As you flutter kick, really root through the pubic bone. Continuing to root, stay long through the back of the neck. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently bring the feet to the floor. Spiral the heels together, coming into, excuse me, coming into small V with your feet. Flex the feet or reach through the heels. So you should feel a lot of engagement in lower butt. This is specifically hip rotators. You're going to keep reaching through the heels. Stay engaged through the back body as you open the legs just a couple inches and then squeeze the back of the heels together. So these are heel beats. You're opening a few inches and pressing the heels together. And press, 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 press. Continuing here, small movement. You should feel a lot of work in the upper inner part of the thighs and lower butt. Here we go for 10, 9, 8. Keep pressing into the pubic bone. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And rest in parallel. Take a nice deep breath here. Last thing we're doing in this position, on your next exhale, co-contract, reach long through the back of the legs until they start to float up off of the floor. You're going to come into external rotation again. Toes are pointed this time. You're going to cross the right upper thigh over the top of the left upper thigh and squeeze. Open just enough now to cross the right leg over the top of the left and squeeze. Open and squeeze. Open and squeeze. Open and squeeze. Stay rooted through the pubic bone, long through the back of the neck. Continue to make sure that the breath supports your movement. open, squeeze, open, squeeze. Your butt should be burning right about now. Squeeze, open, squeeze. Here we go for 10 and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6 and 5 and 4 and 3. We're almost there. And last one, each leg, and then, whew, rest. You might be feeling this tomorrow a little bit. All right, take your palms, place them underneath your armpits. On your next exhale, you're going to press into the palms, lift belly to spine to come onto your knees. So 1, 2, 3, press in, keep elbows by your sides, coming onto your knees. And then you're going to reach back into a child's pose here. Sits bones come towards the heels, forehead rests on the floor. One more breath here. And then gently on the exhale, use your abs to draw yourself up out of your child's pose. You're going to come into a seated position of comfort. Make sure sits bones are grounding down towards the floor or into your heels in my case. Long through the spine, imagine you have a string from the crown of the head reaching you up towards the sky. Roll shoulders down the back of the rib cage. Palms are facing forward, ready to receive. On your next inhale, fill the base of the lungs, expand the rib cage as you sweep arms up overhead. And on your exhale, bring palms together and to heart center. Thank you all so much for joining us for Pilates Mat Class this morning. I am Naya Calmels, and I'll stick around for a couple moments after class to answer any questions. My website is in the chat box if you know how to access that. I'm teaching a mindful movement class tomorrow. It's free. And I hope you enjoyed our class. Again, I'll unmute everyone so we can chat. If you would like to turn your video on so I can see you while we chat, that's always helpful. And if you're just going on with the rest of your day, please enjoy the rest of your day. Nice work.